As you guys know, 2024 is celebrating the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, as well as the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. And with LEGO releasing quite a few Phantom Menace sets this year, I thought now is the best time to just go ahead and rank every Phantom Menace set. So without further ado, I have a total of 41 separate sets to get through, and if you're wondering, I'm not including buildable characters, even the technical ones from the early 2000s. Anyways, coming in at the 41st spot, what I think is sadly the worst Phantom Menace set, and that is 7151 Sith Infiltrator. This set was released all the way back in 1999 with 244 pieces and a retail price of $30 US. Now I know some of you guys will probably get kind of upset that I put this set all the way down at the very bottom of the list, but I mean this set is just rough. Even for 1999 being in the very first wave of LEGO Star Wars sets, it's rough compared to the others. The shaping at the front is just too jaggy and too blocky. It doesn't look good even for 1999. I'm sorry for all the fans of this set. I mean, it just is what it is. Then next up at the 40th spot, I have another 1999 set being 7121 Naboo Swamp. This set has 82 pieces and had an original retail price of only $10. And you know, yeah, the Swamp build is pretty mediocre, but I mean, I like how you get Jar Jar Binks as well as Qui-Gon Jinn, and it never hurts to get battle droids, so that's why I put it at the 40th spot. And then next up at the 39th spot, I have 75029 AAT Microfighter. This set was released back in 2014 with 95 pieces and a retail price of $10. And you know, usually I put Microfighters at the very bottom of the list, but I genuinely think this one is better than those two sets that I just mentioned. I like how cartoonish the AAT looks at such a small scale, and again, it never hurts to get battle droids. Coming in at the 38th spot, I have 7141 Naboo Fighter. This set was released all the way back in 1999 as well, with 179 pieces and a retail price of $20 US. Just like the Sith Infiltrator, this build is pretty rough, and some of you guys would probably even rank this worse than the Sith Infiltrator, but I think relative for the time period, they did a better job on this model. Yes, it does look pretty goofy, and the back end is just too short, and they could have easily extended it, but I still think it's deserving of the 38th spot, which I mean, in the end, it's still pretty close to the bottom of the list. Up next, at the 37th spot, I have 7124 Flash Speeder. This set was released all the way back in 2000 with 106 pieces and a retail price of $10, and I think for 2000, this is a very solid build given the time period of the pieces they had, and given the vehicle they were supposed to recreate, although it only includes one minifigure, and that's why I didn't put it any higher, because there's just not much going on. I think maybe a battle droid or two would have helped this set out a lot. Up next, at the 36th spot, I have 7204 Jedi Defense 2. This set was released all the way back in 2002 with 53 pieces and a retail price of $7 US. LEGO made a few of these little $6, $7, $8 sets like this back in the day, and I think they're all really cool. They were just a cheap way to get some fun little minifigures to recreate a little scene and have a good playset, and it does what it's meant to do well, and that's why I ranked it over the sets that I've already talked about. And speaking of Jedi Defense, at the number 35th spot, I have 7203 Jedi Defense 1. This set was also released in 2002 with 59 pieces and a retail price of $7. This set is really good for all the same reasons that Jedi Defense 2 is good, although I put it one spot higher because I like how it includes droidekas, and ironically, despite this set being 22 years old, those droidekas are some of the best ones that LEGO has ever made. Up next, at the 34th spot, I have yet another 1999 set being 7111 Droid Fighter. This set has 62 pieces and had an original retail price of only $6. Now you might be thinking, oh, you gave the Flash Speeder a low ranking because it only has one minifigure and this set has no minifigures, and yeah, well, that's true, but I think Vulture droids are cooler, and I think for 1999, LEGO did a pretty good job on this, despite it just being a very simple 62 piece build for only $6. Yeah, it could have included a few battle droids, but I mean, I think it's pretty decent and deserving of the 34th spot. Coming in at the 33rd spot, I have another Microfighter, being 75224 Sith Infiltrator Microfighter. This set was released back in 2019 with 92 pieces and a retail price of $10. And again, usually I put Microfighters towards the back of the list and just judge them based on the minifigure that is included, but I mean, I genuinely think this is just a really awesome Microfighter. I mean, one of the best that LEGO has ever made. Obviously, it's always great to get Darth Maul, and I think this is one of the better Darth Maul minifigures they've made. It's the same one that came in the 2017 Duel of Fates set, and he just looks really good holding his double-bladed lightsaber sitting on the Microfighter. I really like it, but I mean, in the end, it is still a Microfighter, so I couldn't put it crazy high, but I mean, it still made the top 40, which is pretty good. Coming in at the 32nd spot, I have one of the weirdest LEGO Star Wars sets ever made, being 7159 Star Wars Pod Racing Bucket. And I say weirdest ever made because hence the name, this set came in a literal bucket, the only LEGO Star Wars set to actually come in a plastic bucket and not a cardboard box or a plastic poly bag, which I think is really cool, and it also includes 4 pod racers, being Neva Keys, Alder Beatos, Clegg Holdfast, and Anakin Skywalker's. Sad Sadly, it doesn't include all of those minifigures, it just includes Alderbedo, Anakin Skywalker, and Jar Jar Binks, but I mean, I still think it's a pretty interesting set and pretty unique that it came in an actual bucket. Next up at the 31st spot, I have 7101 The Lightsaber Duel. This set was released back in 1999, like most of the other sets on this list, with 52 pieces and a retail price of $6. Similar to the Jedi Defense sets, this set is very small and simple, but that works in this case very well. You get a really good Darth Maul minifigure for the time and a pretty decent Qui-Gon Jinn minifigure for the time as well, and 2 little builds, and with this set you were able to recreate a pretty iconic fight scene. Now making our way into the top 30, at the 30th spot I have sort of a fan favorited set, being 7115 Gungan Patrol. This set was released back in 2000 with 77 pieces and a retail price of only $10. And for 2000, this set was really good. It really did everything it's supposed to do in a very good way. This is the only set that LEGO ever made Cadus in, and it's just really rare in general for LEGO to make full molded creatures anyway. And for 2000, they did a pretty good job on them. Yes, there is no printing on them, which makes them look a little bit dull for today's standards, but back then they were great. Along with the Gungan minifigures and the little cart that rolls behind them, it was a very fun play set, especially at a price of only $10. Next up at the 29th spot, I have another set from 2000, being 7184 Trade Federation MTT. This set has 470 pieces and retailed for only $50 back in the day. And yeah, while it is an MTT, which is an awesome Star Wars vehicle that everyone loves, this set in particular, even for 2000, is not the greatest looking. I mean, some even say it's one of the ugliest, if not the ugliest LEGO Star Wars set ever made. I mean, it got to the top 30 at the 29th spot because, I mean, it has some pretty good play features for 2000. Of course, like the droid rack and then just a few interior play functions, but on the outside, it just does not look good at all. Even for 2000, I don't think it looks that great. I feel like they could have easily added more shaping to it, but it didn't, and unfortunately, it kind of just looks like a brick, so that's why it didn't get higher than the 29th spot. Although there is one set from the same time period that LEGO did way better than the MTT, and that is 7126 Battle Droid Carrier coming in at the 28th spot. This set was released in 2001, just 1 year later than the MTT, with 133 pieces and a retail price of only $10. This set was sort of the MTT's counterpart to just have more battle droids for the Battle of Naboo. It actually has the same amount of battle droids and a really nice looking build relative to the era, obviously. I mean, $10 for an awesome build and 7 battle droids, what more could you want? For the number 27th spot, we're jumping 23 years into the future, all the way to current year 2024, to a set that really disappointed me, being 75380 Moss Esfa Pod Race Diorama. At the time of this recording, this set has not released yet because it's still April and it releases on May 1st, but still, it released in 2024 with 718 pieces and a retail price of $80. I just recently reviewed this and I had a lot of complaints, and it's really disappointing because I was really looking forward to this. I mean, if you've been watching my channel for a long time, I mean, even up to a year ago, I was mentioning how LEGO should make a miniature pod race diorama, and when the rumors finally came out and then it finally got announced, I was so excited, but then I saw the pictures and was disappointed, and then I got it in person and I was even more disappointed. The build is pretty solid, but the price is just awful. I have no way to justify it. $80 for a set like this is just ridiculous. I said in my review it shouldn't be more than $60, maybe $70, but $80 is just ridiculous. Again, I mean, I really like the terrain and the pod racers. I think they look great. That's why it made the 27th spot. The only slight problem I have with it is that the pod racers themselves are a bit too big for the actual terrain. I mean, they look good and the rock work on the terrain looks very good. It's just they're a bit too big. In fact, the bulbous pod racer actually can't even fit through that arch, which is kind of weird, but it's not that big of a deal. The real problem is just the price point. It's awful. Coming in at the 26th spot, I have a set that most of you guys have probably forgotten about, being 7186 Watto's Junkyard. This set was released all the way back in 2001 with 443 pieces and a retail price of $50. This set is really cool because one, it was the first ever set to introduce Watto as a minifigure, but also it comes with 2 pod racers, being Alderbedos and Mahonics, but there's not enough pieces in the set to build both the pod racers and Watto's shop, so you either build just both the pod racers, or you build one pod racer and Watto's shop and have pieces of the other pod racer laying around to make it look like a junkyard, which I think is a really awesome concept. It kind of gives the consumer of the set some creativity on what part of the set they want to build. Coming in at the 25th spot, I have 7131 Anakin's Pod Racer. This set was released all the way back in 1999 with 136 pieces and a retail price of only $15. And for 1999, this set was really good. All of the 1999 and early 2000s pod racers were just really great sets that LEGO did a great job on for the time period. I mean, for $15, you get a really awesome build that was way ahead of its time, as well as 3 minifigures. This is just a great set. Up next at the 24th spot, I have yet another 1999 set, being 7161 Sergeant Gungan sub. This set has 379 pieces and retailed for $50, and again, like Anakin's Pod Racer, for it being $19.99, LEGO just absolutely blew this set out of the water, no pun intended. It's a really great build with lots of good shaping and fun hidden play features, and also the back area with the propeller and sort of the tentacles, I guess, that come off of it just looks really awesome. It uses some really interesting pieces to capture the effect that it actually looks like a submarine. The only downside about it, for me at least, is that it's pretty flat and there's not really a good way to display it unless you have a display stand. But other than that, this is a really good set, especially for $19.99. Next up, at the 23rd spot, I have 75091 Flash Speeder. This set was released back in 2015 with 312 pieces and a retail price of $30, and this set looks really good. It's obviously a very significant upgrade from the first Flash Speeder that released in 2000. On top of getting 5 minifigures, you get a really cool Naboo security guard as well as a Naboo officer, and then the highlight minifigures being that purple Gunyan, which is Captain Tarpals. I mean, getting 5 minifigures that are this good for $30 was just a really good deal, and the build is great too, although I didn't put it any higher because I feel like LEGO really overdid it with these spring-loaded shooters. I don't like how there's 3 spring-loaded shooters on the back. It looks like they kind of just threw one wherever they could fit one, and the way they stick out on the back end just looks really off to me, but the rest of the build is great, and the minifigures are great like I said, and that's why I got the 23rd spot. Coming in at the 22nd spot, I have 7663 Sith Infiltrator. This set was released back in August of 2007 with 310 pieces and a retail price of $30, and I think this set is great, don't get me wrong. I mean, I gave it the 22nd spot out of 41 sets or whatever, but I do think it's slightly overrated. A lot of people say it's the best Sith Infiltrator. I completely disagree with that. I do like its sort of downsized and compact design, but I would in no way say it's the best. It also only includes one minifigure, being Darth Maul, and I mean, I think it could have used some others. And then next up at the 21st spot, I have another Sith Infiltrator, being 75383 Darth Maul Sith Infiltrator. At the time of recording this video, it's still April, and this set is releasing on May 1st, but I don't know when you're watching this video, so this set released on May 1st of 2024 with 640 pieces and a retail price of $70. And yes, this set is very overpriced and definitely needed more minifigures, and the build does have its problems, especially if you watch my review, you know all the flaws I pointed out. Really, the main issue for me was just the front part is too thick, and that's why I didn't put it up higher on this list than the 21st spot, although I do think it's actually better than the 2007 model, which some people might take as a hot take, but I don't really care. I think it's a better set. Now making our way into the top 20, at the 20th spot, I have yet another Sith Infiltrator, being 7961 Darth Maul Sith Infiltrator from 2011. This set has 479 pieces and retailed for $70, and I think this Sith Infiltrator is better than the other two because it's actually sleek and fairly flat in the front portion like the Sith Infiltrator is supposed to be, and it's also got the appropriate minifigure lineup for a set like this. It's just missing Anakin, which is kind of random that they didn't include him, but it's got Padme and Captain Panaka, which is what the 2024 model is lacking. And again, on top of that, they just did a way better job with the shaping of the ship, although it does look a bit awkward how the whole front portion is literally just exposed studs. The other ones were tiled off in some way besides the 1999 version, and they looked generally better in the front, although in this case, shaping won. Coming in at the 19th spot, I have 75169 Duel on Naboo. This set released in 2017 with 208 pieces and a retail price of only $25. And let me tell you, back from like 2013 to 2018, LEGO made some absolutely banger $25 sets, from various different Jedi Starfighters to play sets like this one. $25 sets in this era were really awesome, and this set is a perfect example of that. And for some reason, it's also the only version of Duel of Fates that we've ever gotten, which is really disappointing. I mean, I think the least they could have done for this year, being the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, was make a diorama, but no, they didn't. So far, this is the only Duel of Fates set they've made, and I think it's great. It's an awesome playset with awesome minifigures, especially that Darth Maul. Like I said, it's the same one that comes in the Sith Infiltrator Microfighter, and I think it's the best Darth Maul they've made. And again, this set's just got various play functions and was really a bang for your buck for only $25. Next up at the 18th spot, I have yet another Sith Infiltrator. The only difference is that I think this is the best model of this ship that LEGO has made, being 75096 Sith Infiltrator from 2015. It's got 662 pieces and originally retailed for $90, and I think this is the best Sith Infiltrator they've made by a long shot. Well, actually, I take that back. The 2011 version is pretty close behind it, but this one takes that and just does everything better. I think the front end, which is the hardest part to get right, has the best shaping out of all the models they've made of this ship, and also I personally like the larger scale of this set. I don't like the downsized versions of the 2024 model and the 2007 model. I think it looks best as a large set, and that's what LEGO did here, and I really like it. And on top of that, it was the third and so far the last set to include Watto. Up next at the 17th spot, I have one of the weirdest LEGO Star Wars sets ever made, and also the only UCS set on this list, and that is 10018 Darth Maul. This set was released in 2001 with 1,868 pieces and a retail price of $150. And honestly, it was really tricky to try to figure out how to rank this set. As cool as I think it is, there's just so many other sets I would choose over it. I think it looks awesome, don't get me wrong, especially for 2001, it's got really impressive shaping, although in this specific case, I would rather have any of the playsets on this list over this UCS set, when typically, obviously, I prefer UCS sets because I'm an adult collector and they look awesome. This one is just strange though. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just strange. If you think it's better than these sets that come, or not as good as the sets that I've already talked about, then I don't blame you. I just feel like it really felt best at the 17th spot. Coming in at the 16th spot, I have yet another 1999 set, but also the last 1999 set on this list, being the best 1999 set, and I'm sure you guys know what's coming. It's 7171 Mos Espa Pod Race. Like I said, the set was released back in 1999 with 896 pieces and a retail price of $90 US. And back in 1999, this set was an absolute banger. You got 3 hold pod racers as well as plenty of minifigures and some side builds to look like the pod racing stands, all for just $90 back in 1999. Now with inflation adjusted, that's roughly about $170 in today's money, but I've been getting 3 awesome pod racers as well as cool side builds and plenty of minifigures. I would pay $170 for that, I can't lie. It was really just the ultimate Star Wars playset from 1999, and since then it's become sort of a staple for the Star Wars theme. Up next at the 15th spot, I have 75058 MTT. This set was released back in 2014 with 954 pieces and a retail price of $90 US. Now don't get me wrong, this definitely is not the best MTT that LEGO has made, but I think it gets way too much hate. Literally the only reason people hate this set is because of the standard that the 2007 MTT set for LEGO MTT models, and this one just did not meet that standard in any way, but it doesn't mean it's a bad set, it just wasn't held up to our expectations. And I mean, putting our expectations aside, it's not bad, it's pretty good actually. First of all, for $90 in 2014, it was a really good value, with 12 minifigures, 8 of them being battle droids, and 2 of them being an exclusive Obi-Wan and an exclusive Qui-Gon, and on top of that, the build is pretty solid. The only problem I have is that there's a few gaps here and there, but other than that, I think it's pretty decent. And again, I'm saying that while obviously setting aside the thought of comparing it to the 2007 model. Up next at the 14th spot, I have 7877 Naboo Starfighter. This set released back in 2011 with 318 pieces and a retail price of $50 US, and I think this is a great set. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's a pretty solid Naboo Starfighter model, although this was definitely not worth $50, especially for 2011. This could have easily been a $30 set for that year. Obviously, today it wouldn't be a $30 set, but back then it would have been. But other than that, I don't have a lot to say about it. The actual content is pretty solid, but there is another Naboo Starfighter that I think is just a bit better for one specific reason, and that is 7660 Naboo N1 Starfighter with Vulture Droid that comes in at the 13th spot. This set was released back in 2007 with 280 pieces and a retail price of $30, and this set right here shows how the 2011 model was overpriced because it was only $30. Now it was released 4 years earlier, but still you get roughly the same amount of pieces as well as a whole other Starfighter, so I think it really just shows how LEGO overpriced the 2011 model. Although talking about this model, I think the Naboo Starfighter itself is better than the 2011 version because it includes one of those awesome giant spring-loaded missiles in the front, which were just such a hidden gem of the late 2000, early 2010 sets. They're so fun to play with, and they're also very nostalgic. And I mean, I haven't even talked about the Vulture Droid in this set. For 2007, the Vulture Droid looked great too, and getting both of these Starfighters for only $30 was a really good deal. Coming in at the 12th spot, I have another set that I think gets way too much hate, and that is 75080 AAT. This set was released back in 2015 with 251 pieces and a retail price of $25 US. Like I said, I think this set gets way too much hate for the exact same reason that the MTT gets too much hate. It's just that it did not meet our expectations for an AAT, and it's not as good as the older models, but that doesn't mean it's bad. If you set that mindset aside, this is a pretty good set. The shaping and proportions on the actual build itself look really good. I think they did a great job at making it sort of compact and downsized, but also speaking of it being downsized is kind of the reason people don't like this set, because a lot of the older versions were bigger and actually pretty much close to minifigure scale, and this one was just not really much compared to those, and that's why I get so much hate. But again, setting that thinking aside, I think this set on its own is pretty good. Coming in at the number 11 spot, I have another 2024 set, being 75381 Droideka. This set has 583 pieces and a retail price of $65 US, and I'm sure you guys have seen the reviews on this thing. It's absolutely phenomenal. The actual design and stance of the Droideka is pretty much perfect. I don't don't think LEGO could have done any better, and to accomplish that, they used a lot of really cool techniques, like the lipstick pieces being used for its eyes. Although I do have one problem with this set, and you know what that is if you watch my review, and that is, in order to roll it up into a ball, you actually have to take the legs off and flip them upside down, which eliminates the idea of it being able to just naturally roll up like Joy-Cons are supposed to, and I found that kind of annoying, but other than that, it's a great set. Now finally, making our way into the top 10, at the number 10 spot, I have 7929, The Battle of Naboo. This set was released back in 2011 with 241 pieces and a retail price of $25 US. And here's just further proof that LEGO always made banger $25 sets. But anyways, that aside, I think this set is great. It was the second model of a droid carrier that LEGO had made, and I think they did a really good job. It was also a really awesome army builder and included 2 Gunions. The only problem I have with the actual build is that gap between the droid rack and the actual piloting area, but other than that little complaint, this set is awesome and was a really good army builder back in the day. And speaking of army builders, at the number 9 spot, I have what would have been one of the best army builders ever made if it was not a GWP, and that is 4068 Trade Federation Troop Carrier. As you guys know, this is the May 4th GWP for 2024, so meaning you get the set for free if you spend $160 or more on LEGO Star Wars. And don't get me wrong, this set is freaking awesome. I gave it the number 9 spot. I think it's better than the 2011 model just because it's strictly brown. I think the brown color looks really nice and very nostalgic, but on the other hand, this is also just a really bad option for a GWP. I actually made a whole entire video complaining about this, saying that LEGO was kind of doing fans dirty, and I still think they are, because this is a really good army builder that's hidden behind a $160 paywall, and I get that it's a great GWP. I just think GWP should be more niche sets that aren't really massable like this. Like, I quite literally think that this is the equivalent of the 2025 First Battle Pack being a GWP. Like, imagine how much outrage that would have caused. But setting aside the idea of it being a GWP, the actual content in this set is really good, and that's why I gave it the number 9 spot. You just kind of have to separate it and think like it's a great set, but a bad GWP. Up next, at the number 8 spot, I have a very fan-favorited set, being 9499 Gungan Sub. This set was released back in 2012 with 465 pieces and a retail price of $70 US, which is pretty outrageous for 2012. But like I said, this is a fan-favorited set because of that Queen Amidala minifigure. It's very iconic and the only time that LEGO has made this specific figure, and on top of that, the actual Gungan Sub itself looks very good. There's so much detail, the shaping on it is incredible, and it was definitely a significant upgrade from the 1999 version, although again, like I said, it was $70 in 2012, which was pretty outrageous. If you're wondering, that's about $95 in today's money in 2024, and I would in no way pay $95 for this set, so the price was pretty bad, and that's why I didn't put it higher than some of the other sets to come, but I think the build itself is basically perfect, and so are the minifigures. Up next, at the number 7 spot, I have yet another very fan-favorited set, and that is 7155 Trade Federation AAT. This set was released all the way back in 2000 with 158 pieces and a retail price of $20 US. And for 2000, as many of you guys know, this set was incredible and so far ahead of its time. I mean, it's 24 years old and it made it to the top 10 of this list. That should really tell you a lot about it. The shaping is pretty much perfect, as well as the scale. It's pretty much exactly minifigure scale, and also the giant sort of printed flying saucer pieces, I guess that's what they're called, I'm not sure, you can correct me in the comments, but they look very good as well, and I think that's really the highlight of this set for many people. But the rest of the build looks great too. This is all around just a very impressive set for only the second year of LEGO Star Wars. Coming in at the number 6 spot, I have a set that I think is very underrated and borderline kind of forgotten about, and that is 75258 Anakin's Pod Racer 20th Anniversary Edition. This set was released back in 2019 with 279 pieces and a retail price of only $30 US. Like I said, I think this set gets very overlooked. In my opinion, this is just without a doubt the best version of Anakin's Pod Racer they've made. I genuinely don't think they could really get much better than this. And on top of that, you get Anakin and Padme as well as the 20th Anniversary Luke minifigure. It's just all around a very solid set and a great display piece and great display set for only $30. Now making our way into the top 5, at the number 5 spot, I have 7665 Republic Cruiser. This set was released all the way back in 2007 with 919 pieces and a retail price of $90 US. And I think this set is incredible. It's one of the most unique LEGO Star Wars sets they've ever made, and for 2007 they did a very good job on the build of making it accurate and getting the shaping right and the colors right and everything. And on top of that, this might be a bit of a hot take, but as you guys know, this is sort of the precursor to the Republic Frigate, and I think this set is way better than the Republic frigate. I think the build itself is way more accurate and executed much better, and on top of that you have a very nice minifigure selection, although this was the mid-2000s, so none of the minifigures have leg printing. Up next at the number 4 spot, I have another very underrated set, and that is 75092 Naboo Starfighter. This set was released back in 2015 with 442 pieces and a retail price of $50 US, and $50 for all of this was just such an awesome deal. You get a really awesome Naboo Starfighter as well as 9 minifigures, yes, 9 minifigures in a $50 set, and some cool side builds. And speaking of the side builds, yes, some people have pointed out how LEGO kind of went overkill with them, and I agree with that to an extent. I think the rack for the spring-loaded shooters was a bit overkill and kind of unneeded, but I like the other stuff, especially the staircase that goes up to the Naboo Starfighter. And on top of that, again, how much can I stress that you get 9 minifigures and an awesome build for only $50? It was just awesome. Continuing on with sets that I think are kind of underrated, at the number 3 spot, I have another set that gets overlooked way too much, and that is 75086 Battle Droid Troop Carrier. This set was also released in 2015 with 565 pieces and a retail price of only $40 US. $40 for 14 battle droids and a really awesome Gungan Warrior minifigure. This is arguably one of the best army builders ever made. It's not even close. And on top of that, the droid carrier is actually done properly. There's not just one droid rack and then a big gap and then the piloting area. There's actually 2 droid racks and they all fit on there and look how they're supposed to, and it's awesome. Back in 2015, this was an amazing army builder as well as a very good set to include in mocks. Next up at the number 2 spot, I have a set that might surprise some of you guys for being so high up on the list, and that is 7962 Anakin Skywalker and Sebulba's Pod Racers. This set was released back in 2011 with 810 pieces and a retail price of $90 US. Funny how back in 2011 we could get 2 full-scale Anakin and Sebulba's Pod Racers for just $10 more than how much 2 miniature versions cost today. Anyways, that aside, I think this set is absolutely incredible. I mean, pretty much perfect. This is the only sort of modern Sebulba's Pod Racer they've made, since the only one before this was in 1999, and they just blew it out of the water. And on top of that, you get Anakin's Pod Racer alongside it, making for a very good playset where you can recreate such an iconic pod race scene. Now finally, making our way into the number 1 spot, I'm sure all of you guys knew exactly what set this was going to be right when you clicked on the video, and that is of course 7662 Trade Federation MTT. The set was released back in June of 2007 with 1,330 pieces and a retail price of only $100. Yes, $100 for 1,300 pieces, a near perfect model, and 20 battle droids. To put that into perspective, that's about $150 in today's money, and $150 for a set like this in 2024 would just be unheard of. There's no way LEGO would release this for $150 today. It would be at least $180, and that really just shows you how great of a deal this set was. And on top of that, again, the build is pretty much perfect. As you guys know, I just actually recently reviewed this set, and I think I gave it like a 9.8 out of 10 or something, because for 2007 it really was just so good. This is without a doubt the best MTT LEGO has ever made, and also probably arguably the best playset they've ever made too. Got incredible functionality, plenty of battle droids to build your army. It's not like you even have to build your army anymore. When you get this set, you literally have an army of battle droids. It really is just a great set that's a staple of LEGO Star Wars and really the pinnacle of Phantom Menace sets. Anyways guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Let me know what you think about this list down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the screen right now.